Apex Radiology is a company that's been listed now on the stock exchange for about 2 years, but we never did get an opportunity to speak to them during the IPO run. So let me welcome our guest today, Kisha.
Hi, Kalila. Hi, Moneymakers. Thanks for
Kisha
having
Anderson,
me.
CEO of Apex Radiology. I say IPCL there. So can you just give us a little background about the Image Plus Apex story?
Sure. I just want to say that thanks to your viewers for listening tonight, because I'm figuring this is not the main attraction. Everybody's focused on the US election.
Right.
I'm happy to be here and actually to be on the show. You said it's a 244th episode, and we
Yes.
just making it. Well, better late than never, right? So, Kalila, guess what was open today in addition to KFC? Image Plus Consultants Limited or Apex Radiology.
Okay.
Yeah, we were actually open today, and I feel really proud of that because our team members were out and our patients came out, and quite a few of our competitors were closed. I mean, it says something for us, you know. So, having gone through two things this year, not impacted by burial, we stayed open, and we were meaning that we're open the very next day. And then being open today through Tropical Storm Raphael, I think we've shown that our business continuity plan is working. So thanks again for having me. Apex Radiology is the company that people will know the name by, but it's really registered as Image Plus Consultants Limited. They started actually in 1996, and at that time went by the name Apex X-ray and Ultrasound, you know, and it was started by two Jamaican female women, well, obviously female women, in who actually were radiologists, and they decided that they wanted to be able to give an option outside of the public system, which was not able to handle all the demand. And they started with what they call two modalities, X-rays and ultrasounds, and that's why the name was as it was at first. The location that they started with was at 2A Mullines Road, and it's still one of our four locations now. We since expanded to 129 Pro in Ligony, 3A Winchester Road, also in Kingston, Ligony, Kingston, I should say. And then we opened in Ocherius, St. Anne, in 2019, I believe it was. And so we have 4 branches today with just over 90 team members, about 13 reading radiologists, and we do several modalities. So we offer X-rays, ultrasounds, CT scans, fluoroscopy, nuclear medicine, and then since 2023 and 2024, we added mammography, mammograms, and MRI services at our Ocherius location. And so we're really happy that we're showing growth and expanding to meet the diagnostic imaging needs of Jamaicans. And we serve both private patients that come in and patients that come from the public system, either sponsored through the Ministry of Health program or they actually pay for themselves, but we offer preferential pricing to those that come from the public system, being very cognizant of, you know, affordability and the need for diagnostic imaging in healthcare.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your story. How did you become involved with this company?
Okay, so prior to Image Plus, I was at the GMB group since 1996, yeah, 23 years. I actually quote unquote retired in 2019, and really that was because I just felt it was time for a break. I'd been going full steam ahead, and I had made I guess a kind of spoken commitment to Joan Duncan, I remember in 1998, and the dream was at that time to actually get a commercial banking license. So when that was achieved, I felt that I could comfortably move on from that service. And I was not doing anything for about a year. And then in 2020, I got a phone call from one of the co-founders, Dr. Caroline McDonough, about giving some support to Image Plus. So I went and I said, okay, it's I didn't know much about diagnostic imaging at the time. And I said, it's a small company, let me see. And then I felt really, Kalila, like it was a diamond just waiting to be discovered, you know? And so I started with them in 2020, and I am here today. I think in the time frame what I'm proud about is the level of revenue that they have grown by, and the fact that we actually listed and we have a good track record of accountability and governance since being a public entity on the junior market. And our results, I think, are showing that we're committed to a long-term sustainable growth path so that we can, one, provide healthcare services through diagnostic imaging in Jamaica, but two, give a good return to our shareholders over time, because this is a stock that I feel very confident is going to continue to provide good returns to our shareholders and value to them in their overall portfolio.
Right. So what sets you apart from other companies that are competitors? Because you also have like Elite
Yeah.
Diagnostic, which is one of your competitors, also listed on the stock exchange. What
Yes.
makes Apex special?
All right. So I think what makes us special is, well, let me say four things that come to my mind immediately. The first thing is our people, the level of commitment to patient care, not only by our customer service team, but by our team of radiographers, that's the techs that do most of the studies, and our radiologists who read the studies. You know, very often we hear, because we have radiologists who are very accessible and on the ground, if a patient, they're doing an examination on a patient and the patient wants some discourse about what's happening, the radiologists can be there to speak to them, and they're also very accessible to their doctors on the telephone to give real-time results and help, you know, sometimes in critical decision-making moments for their patient care. The second thing I would say is that because we have 4 locations, you'll find a lot of the diagnostic imaging centers may have 1 or maybe 2. There are only about, I think, 3 other providers that have more than 1 location. The third thing is that we have several modalities, and we also have redundancy in the modalities. So if for example, one of our pieces of equipment goes down, more than likely for the more popular modalities, it can be accessed through another location of Image Plus consultants. And then the quality of our reporting, bar none, I feel very, very proud to say that both in the public and the private sector, the doctors speak about the details and the quality of our reporting that gives them good insight and information in what's happening with their patients so that they can then take the action towards immediate care. You know, so I think that's what sets us really apart, you know.
Well, I'm getting some testimonials from our viewers. Learn, Grow, Invest says, I get great service from IPCL. Excellent track record. Never missed an earnings call for your shareholders. And Nicholas says, that's nice growth over the years. So
Yeah.
speaking of that growth, you guys did your IPO at the very end of 2022 and
Yes.
listed at the start of 2023, which was a tricky time. A
Yeah, and it was
very tricky time because the market had just taken a hit from COVID. Then you had the SSL scandal right at the start of 2023, and a lot of companies had decided to kind of back away, companies that were considering IPOs. But you guys went through with it. So why did you make that decision to go through with it at that difficult time?
You know, I think we had made a decision sometime in November 22, and, you know, we went through all the regulatory filings and applications. And then it was right before, like the week before Christmas when we opened, but we felt that the timing was still, it was still worth it and we could actually go through. And then we were actually the first company to have the listing in 2023. And then thereafter, there was a significant slowdown in the market. What I think we would have seen since that then is the impact on our share price, because I think actually we're very undervalued, and so we have seen our share price fall off. I think something else I learned in that period too is that we actually had investors, believe it or not, who were thinking, not really realizing that we are $2 per stock. We're thinking that we're at $1, and so they were selling for less than the $2 and really thought that they were making a gain. You know, so it was a really strange time. But I think that shows such as yours and others, Learn, Grow, Invest, etc., and the education that's being done in the market is very important. I like how it feels like we're placing the power in the hands of shareholders to really understand the market and how it can work for them. But since then, I think even though we've seen what we've seen, the market being slightly depressed, etc., I think that when you're buying stock, you know, you have some stock in your portfolio that you said this is a stock for the future. I believe our stock is one such. So even though the timing might have not have been perfect, I think that we're going to see the return to our shareholders in the future.
So how did you use the funds that you raised from that IPO?
Okay, so at the time we were going to launch two new modalities, MRI and mammographies. To this point, we were only associated with MRI through a 30% stakeholding we had in Winchester MRI. So we'd have gotten kind of exposure and experience with that modality. We thought it was important to launch MRI in the St. Anne area because there are not many providers of that service there. And by having it in Otrus, where we are, we actually serve St. Mary, all the way into Portland. We actually serve as far as Montego Bay because, as I said, sometimes in this market, diagnostic imaging equipment actually goes down. And so if a company doesn't have redundancy, they need to send their patients to somewhere else. So we said we're going to build out MRI. And we also thought, because of the importance of breast cancer screening, we already offered breast ultrasounds, but coupled with that, it was important to do mammograms. And we thought to introduce that both in Kingston at our Molynes Road flagship original location and our Otrus location. And so it was to actually buy into those modalities, but at the same time, we realized that we wanted permanence of a permanent home for our head office location in Kingston. And we decided to buy property, which at the time it was not disclosed, but since then we have disclosed to the market. It's at 33 Lady Musgrave Road, which is right directly opposite where AC Hotel is now. We think it's a really great location for our...
That is a great location.
Yes, and our average Jamaicans who take public transport, it's a very easy public transport route. If we think of where hospitals are, it's not in the heart of New Kingston, it's not in the heart of Crossroads or Halfway Tree, so it's a pretty good access point as well if you're coming from University Hospital or you're coming from KPH that side, or even as far as Princess Margaret. So we think it's a great location. So in the end, we ended up using our IPO funds mainly towards the purchase of that property. And then we actually did financing, bank financing, traditional financing for our mammo and MRI units. And we are actually now, Kalila, going to build out that location at 33 Lady Musgrave. We actually are in the process of a joint venture agreement. And I unfortunately can't say yet who it is with, but I can say it's with a contractor. And we're going to build with our equity in the project being the real estate. And we hope to have that new head office flagship location, which is a relocation of our 3A Winchester Road location by December 2025. So we're like all focused on getting that done now.
Ooh, okay, that sounds exciting. And the funny thing with investors is you guys make these announcements, and for some reason, people don't believe that it's real until they see it open.
We have a great track record of that, though, because we told them we're going to buy MRI and Mama. We told them it was going to be in within a year, and it was. And we've launched modalities. And even though we had, if you look at our results for the last quarter, it was, I would say, probably for some, a little bit disappointing because we had our first loss since, since we've been listed, but in a while in the company. And that was really because, of course, by buying new equipment, you have the whole impact of depreciation and the cost thereof, as well as you have the impact of the financing of the equipment costs and the revenue. We were impacted in the quarter by one of our CT units being down for a delayed time. And at one point in the quarter, Kalila, 3 of our CT units being down, which had never happened before. And so you saw that the revenues were a little bit behind and the costs were still there because they're already there and built in. But when you look at the new modalities and the performance of it, I mean, we've done over 3,000 scans on them since we put them in. And I break that down for people and say what that means in terms of like mammos per day was working out to 5 per day, just that we were targeting 10, and MRIs per day was working out to a little less than 10, and we're targeting 20. But the truth of the matter is that we're getting there now, we're building up. And the thing with these modalities is that they are going to create long-term revenue streams, and the demand for them is very, very high. Right? I was saying earlier that we were offering breast ultrasounds, and then we started with mammograms. But now another big thing in diagnostic imaging for breast cancer is the MRI of the breast, and we are one of only 2 providers in Jamaica that actually offer that now. So. That's kind of what's going on with us.
So you preempted a couple of my questions, one of them being about the company performance recently. But I do want to go back to this new building that you're about to build, because I mentioned that should be on stream by, you said, December 2025. I mentioned that people often don't believe it until they see it, even though you make the announcement, even though you have the track record. What comes to my mind is Fontana. When Fontana did their IPO,
Oh.
they
Mhm.
said in the IPO documents that they were going to build Waterloo Square. And for some reason, the stock price took off after Waterloo Square was built, even though that announcement was made months prior. And so, investors, those of you watching right now, be on alert.
Yeah.
Apex is coming with a new flagship building across the road from the AC Hotel prime location by December 2025. So, what does that mean for your investments now and your investments for next year? I'm not saying anything, just take that into
Yeah.
consideration.
And I
That's
will
the
say one thing to add to what
Mhm.
you're saying, Kalila, in that at that location, we're going to be able to offer another modality that we only do in some part now, which is called interventional radiology. And so, what people may relate that to now is now we do like lung biopsies, liver biopsies, breast biopsies, and it's going to be an expansion of that. And you know that for us, hospital bed space in Jamaica is not very wide, and it's also a little bit expensive. Now, if you want to do a simple biopsy like that, it can actually be an in and out patient in a facility such as ours. So by offering that, we're going to be able to accommodate many more of those cases by having that interventional suite to do those services. So the new building, expansion of our services, but also increasing the offering of another modality. So as you say, investors take note. Take note.
Mhm. A question re your services. This question comes from Shells, and she wants to know, what do you think it would take for the international industry to introduce a mammogram machine that uses a cup device similar to a bra sheet? Because women have been complaining about the flat pressing devices for decades, and it's a deterrent to more women doing mammograms. Let's hear your opinion on that.
Oh my gosh, it would only be a very uninformed opinion because unfortunately I am not a doctor. But what I can say is that the services that we offer now with the flat mammography unit, I just did my mammogram 2 weeks ago, and not because I'm there. I do my mammogram very regularly because, you know, after age 40, you need to be doing a mammogram every year. Before age 40, it's not recommended unless you have some kind of family history. You do a breast ultrasound. And what I'll say is that it is the most pain-free experience I've had. The technology has evolved. The amount of radiation is less than it was prior. And so even though it's not what the viewer was requesting, I can say it's a much better experience. And if it is something that you want a more definitive answer about, I can ask one of our radiologists to probably send you something, and then we can always post it, you know, to answer that question more specifically.
Okay, Shells, I hope you get an answer, or I hope, we follow up with that question later on.
Okay.
So let's go back to the numbers because you started touching on it. According to the Q2 results, the revenues for the second quarter were down by about 3% compared to the second quarter in the same year. And then you also have net profits for the 6 months was also down quite a bit. So you mentioned some of the reasons why, but what are you doing to turn it around?
Okay. All right. So the main thing that happened was the fact that, okay, well, let me take one step back. I'll say that when you put in a new modality, as we did the MRI and the mammo, it would take some time to get the return on that investment, as I'm sure all the money makers would understand. So what we were relying on is a steady buildup of those modalities, as well as the existing modalities remaining available and consistent. The challenge we had is that CT, which is the largest revenue earner per scan for us, was down at 3 locations at one time, which has never happened. I was explaining on another platform that sometimes down is a misleading word. You think it's actually like something that's broken, but in essence, it was replacement of something called a tube for the CT, which I guess the part I'd make it akin to is kind of like the battery in your car. And so after a while, the extensive usage of it means that it has to be replaced. And unfortunately, it has to be diagnosed, and then you obtain the part from the supply, the manufacturer of the unit, and it comes with a warranty, but they start the warranty from the point that they dispense the part to you. So the CT, it took a little time, logistic nightmares to get those tubes into the island. And when it came, for one of the units, it actually, the part was defective. And so it was an extended downtime of like over 4 weeks. And so the existing revenue streams were impacted. And at the same time, the new revenue streams, the ramp up was a little slower than we anticipated. We are now closer to the levels that we wanted and growing. And it's not a matter of demand. If anything, it would have been a matter, Khalil, of, I think, us just perfecting our execution with something new. And our CTs are also back in operation in 2 of our locations. At our 129 Pro branch, we decided not to actually put that unit back into production because last year in 2023 we were impacted with replacing several of those parts, and that even though we only have 1 CT in Kingston up, we've extended our opening hours at that location so that we can manage all the demand for CT. So we're doing Mondays to Sundays, so 7 days a week, as we need on a Sunday, and we're doing on-call services up to midnight on Monday to Thursday, and then Friday to Saturday, all through the night till morning, and then same thing again Saturday night until Monday morning. So that is ensuring that our existing modalities deliver the numbers that we intend. And then for the new modalities, we are where we anticipated to be at this point for MRI, and mammo is getting there in Ocherius. Kingston is still a little bit behind because the market is a little bit more competitive. And what you find with mammo, Kalila, which is, I guess, I don't know if it's education or just kind of demand, but everybody's very active about doing their mammo in October, November, December. We also partner with some overseas groups. So we do mammos that they pay for Jamaicans who can't afford for January and February. But, you know, from February down, we realize it's a little slower. So we have to do a good job at educating people that, you know, mammo, you don't wait until only breast cancer awareness month to do it. Yeah. But as a result of that, we're seeing our revenues go back. You know, in 2023, we hit the $1 billion mark, and I guess it's no turning back from that. And so as our scan numbers grow, then our revenue numbers will grow, and we will return to the results that our investors and shareholders are accustomed to seeing.
Let me take a few questions from the audience. Philip wants to know if doctors' offices for rent will be at the LMR location.
So there will be, we were going to be using, with the joint venture partner, we're going to be using at least 2 of the floors, and there are going to be 2 other floors that will be available for rent. I can't say how far our partner has gotten to, because a part of the transactions that they will be responsible for those 2 floors, you know, because what we're putting into it, as I said, is our investment in the property, and we're going to get our thing fully owned by us and delivered to us completely outfitted, fit for our purpose.
Next question comes from Ryan. With the share price now below the $2 IPO price, how do you assure shareholders that they will see increased value within the next 12 months?
Yeah. So I think that for the shareholders, you get value 2 ways, as you know. One is the share price. And I think right now the entire market is down, but even though I'm not giving investment advice, but just because of my knowledge thereof, we know that as interest rates start to go down, then money will move to the equity market, as I think we shall see, and the market should improve in the next 12 months or so. But again, it's not investment advice. And then I think the other way shareholders look for value is in the dividend and the payments. We have made dividend payments, even though quite conservatively in the last round, because if you think about it as an investor, we are ensuring that this company has sustainable revenue streams going forward. The other thing that we're doing is we're actually looking at opportunities to consolidate the market. So we're in the discussion with 2 potential other entities that we are doing due diligence with a view towards acquiring, so we can consolidate, see an uptick in our revenues with not, of course, a commensurate uptick in our costs, so that through that inorganic growth, you will also see value. So I would say the share price over time, dividends, though the dividend payment maybe in the last one, they'll say it's a little bit conservative, as we really are investing for the future growth. But if you look at our balance sheet, you will see that we're in good standing in terms of funds that we could actually pay over as a dividend once our board feels comfortable that, you know, we're on the right path to be able to make that dividend payment.
Okay. Looking forward to that, of course. Lanezra says, I see downtime in machines, one of the major problems facing your types of companies. What measures will you put in place to mitigate such in the future?
Okay, so what we're going to do explore for the CT tube issue, because that's the main thing that's really impacted us. You don't find in the other modalities you have a significant downtime. But what we're going to explore, remember I said before, like a car battery, you go, you buy it when you need it, and then you get a warranty for that part. We actually are going to explore with the manufacturer whether or not, based on the storage conditions being okay, we can actually have a storage of at least one tube per machine on site, so we don't have to have any downtime from waiting on the part to get to us. So we're working on that. I can't guarantee what the response will be, because as I said, it's important on a part like that. Those parts, Kalila, cost like 50 to 60,000 US. For one, you want to ensure that your warranty remains in case something like what happened in August, the part came and it was defective and has to be sent back. They can honor the warranty. So we're going to work through that. It's going to be probably something new, not necessarily done very often. Overseas where the parts are, they don't have to think about that because they can get it in a day or two. It's us that have to wait on these things to be sent to us, that have to come up with some creative ways of ensuring that we have them on demand. So that's what we're working on. Redundancy is the other way. And as I said, it was kind of strange in August that we had all of them done at the same time, because normally with the redundancy of having more than one unit available in at a time, then you would just switch over and do extended hours like what we're doing now. So, we'll also look at that at the new location, having redundancy in CT, which is a more on-demand modality.
Okay. So do you guys have any plans to expand to other parishes and maybe even outside Jamaica?
All right. So I would say for the other parishes, the acquisitions that we're looking at, it would actually afford us that. So that's something that we hope by the end of our financial year, which is in February next year, we'll be able to kind of make some announcement. We hope it goes in that direction. As it relates to outside of Jamaica, there is an opportunity for us, even not necessarily by going, but by offering the services specific to, like right now, we have quite a few patients that come to us from Turks and Caicos, that come to us from the Cayman Islands, and that come to us from Trinidad and Tobago. So that is something that we can probably promote more in terms of how we set up those packages. But we already have a decent amount of patients that are referred to us from those countries.
Okay. So they come to Jamaica to get the service.
They do. In our nuclear medicine, in particular, or interventional procedures that I spoke to earlier, but they do, because one, it may not be offered like in Cayman, Turks and Caicos, or two, the cost of it here in Jamaica. So the whole concept of medical tourism, which we haven't fully explored as a strategic opportunity, but there is something there. But if I were to choose the priority based on what the board has guided us along, we're actually looking to build out the modalities we've implemented to explore that inorganic growth to give us that immediate uptick in profitability, and then it would be to look at the medical tourism opportunities.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us so much, Kisha. Anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers before you leave?
I think it's just like what you'd say, let's make that money, Kalila. I think we are a stock to watch and to look out. As you said, sometimes announcements are made and we don't see an impact in the price or the kind of belief until the thing happens. I think that our shareholders and the investing public in Jamaica should actually just look out for the steady changes or build out of our plans each quarter, and really look at us as a stock to watch. And we're really, really committed to the quality of the services that we provide. And we believe that in so doing, we're going to build long-term sustainable shareholder value. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back. So this is episode 240, maybe by 7, right?
All right. Thanks so much, Kisha. Great having you.